Hello?
Could I speak to Marc Stevens?
Yes, speaking.
Mr. Stevens, this is Rolando Garza with Hedalgo County Appraisal District.
Oh, thanks for calling, sir. Orlando?
Sure. Rolando. Rolando with an R.
Oh.
R-O-L-A-N-D-O.
Orlando. Well, thank you for calling.
Sure.
We're trying to find out who is responsible for the allegation my client is a taxpayer. And
okay.
We had initially started with the tax agency, the tax department, and Yolanda told us to go call that they don't make determinations if someone's a taxpayer. They just get their information from the appraisal district.
Correct. And who is your client?
His name is Marciano. I know
yes.
him. Yeah.
Okay. No problem. And it's on a property with a legal description as 7 Block 4?
I believe so.
Okay. There is a deed recorded in the official records of Hedalgo County in document number 15670. It's a warranty deed with vendor's lien from to your client or someone with the same name who has a mailing address of South Dog in Far. The document is dated July 14th, 2005. That person, in addition, made a deed of trust with First National Bank to purchase the property. And therefore, based on that document, we changed the ownership of that said property to Marciano based on that official record.
Okay, but who's making the determination that he's a taxpayer and has a tax obligation? That's who we're interested in speaking with. Somebody said that we got a delinquency notice from the tax department, and they're saying that they're not responsible for the legal determination that my client is a taxpayer. That was done by someone here. So we're trying to find out who at the appraisal district. And I know I had spoken to somebody you were in Orlando.
Okay.
And he said that would I already know.
I make that decision, sir.
Oh, you
am the chief. I make the decision.
You make the decision.
It rests on my shoulders.
That my client is a taxpayer.
Yes, sir. Well, he's the owner of that property, and property in the state of Texas is subject to ad valorem taxes.
Well, that's part of my issue here is the whether it's or not it is within the state of Texas and that the laws are applicable. So I know it's generally just assumed that Texas and state of Texas is the same, and if you happen to be physically somewhere that the law applies, but that's not actually how it works out. And because what you're doing,
I have determined that property is in the state of Texas in the county of Hedalgo, and it is taxable. And I have put your client on as the owner, and I gave those records over to the tax office so that they can charge him ad valorem taxes.
Okay.
And that rests on my shoulders. I am the one who did that.
Okay, so if we would have an administrative hearing, you would be the one individual.
If you want to sue, you can sue me.
No. Well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to. We like to get this issue resolved without having to involve the courts and the expense that comes with it. Is it possible that your determinations, which are just legal determinations, they're just legal opinions, is it possible that they're wrong?
And like I said, if you believe they're wrong, you can do whatever you think is necessary to try to correct it if you feel it's wrong, and I will do everything that I have to indicate that it's correct.
Okay, well, I understand that, and so part of doing that would be asking you if you're an expert in the interpretation and application of the Texas Constitution and laws.
Well, and like I said, I have made a determination. If you feel that's incorrect, you can do what you feel is necessary.
Well, and that's why I'm asking you a question like that. I don't want. I'm not the type to just make a blanket statement. If I'm going to go for an administrative hearing or something to get this reversed and dropped, then I'm not going to make, baseless accusations against you or anybody else. So that's why I'm calling. And now that we know that you're the individual responsible, then I can start asking you some questions so that if we can't come to a resolution.
I've made a determination. I have certified an appraisal roll, and that's my determination.
Right.
That it is taxable, and that's where it lies. If you feel it's incorrect, then you do what you need to, whether it's a lawsuit or whatever you feel is appropriate, you do that.
Well, that's why I'm asking you about, are you an expert in the interpretation and application of the Texas Constitution and laws?
I am the chief appraiser for Hidalgo County, and I follow the Texas Property Tax Code.
Okay, but that's not really an answer to my question. My question
I'm not going to answer that question.
You see, that's where we start getting into the, where we're calling a good faith to resolve this, and I'm asking some questions, and then you don't want to answer the question, and it goes directly related to the allegations that you've made against my client. I'm not, like I said, I'm not in the business of making false accusations or or bringing grounds that I have no basis for. I want to be able to say, look, I spoke to Rolando on this day at this date and time, and I asked him if he was an expert in the interpretation and application of the Constitution and the laws, which he applies on a regular basis. You've already told me, and you don't want to answer the question, which raises a presumption that you're not.
If you feel, like I said, I follow the Texas Property Tax Code, and I have made a determination, and that's where we lie. If you feel it's incorrect, then you have avenues that you can pursue.
But that's true. But I don't want to. It's not something that you want to just pull out of thin air. I mean, that's why I'm asking you. If you're not qualified to interpret and apply the Constitution and the laws,
if you feel that. If you feel that you think I'm not, then you make whatever decision and sue me, do whatever you think you need to.
Well, that's why, but I'm getting the background.
And I'm not going to answer these other questions as to what you're trying to determine, because I'm not going to get into that with you.
Okay. Well, what if we put it in writing?
Go ahead. Put it in writing.
Okay, so we can, okay, we'll ask questions.
I'm subject to the Open Records Act, and I will certainly provide any documents that are required under that.
Well, I'm not necessarily asking for documents. I'm asking you because you're not just making factual accusations against my client. You're making legal determinations. You're applying the Constitution of Texas and the laws of Texas. You just told me that. I want to know about if you're qualified to do that. I'm not debating whether you have the authority to make such determinations. I'm interested in finding out if it's accurate. I mean, I look at it as an analogy, sir, is let's look at you as like a police officer writing traffic tickets. It's not an issue of whether you have the authority to write that ticket and say somebody is an offender and owes so much money and fine. The authority issue is not. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning whether the ticket is valid or not, and that's why you have things like discovery, and you go to court and you question the agent, the police officer. So that's what I'm doing now.
And we're not in a suit, so I'm not subject to discovery.
Well, I understand that, but before you go into a lawsuit, you're supposed to do everything reasonably expected of you to resolve the conflict without having to go to court, and that's what we're doing here. I'm calling you in good faith, and I'm asking you about this. You're making legal determinations against my client. I'm not debating your authority, but I'm talking about whether or not that is an accurate determination. And instead of working with me, you just tell me to go ahead and sue you.
Sure.
But that's not helping to resolve the issue.
Well, and I'm not going to answer questions of that nature. Okay. Like I said, I've made a determination. If you feel they're incorrect, if you wish to write a letter and ask me some questions, if I feel I can answer them, I will and respond, answering them or respond back and telling you, those are not things I'm going to answer. And if you care to pursue it, you have every right to do so. Okay.
Well, it's unfortunate you don't want to work with me on the phone, but we'll put the questions in writing, and this way we'll have a documentary record of what we're trying to do. And so hopefully it doesn't have to come to where it has to go to court, where we could, we should, because the judge could just look at you and say, sir, the man did call you. Why didn't you just answer the question? We could have avoided all this.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
So you're not interested in working with me for a few minutes on the phone to possibly resolve this?
I've told you my decision, and that's what I've done.
Okay. I wish you, if there was a supervisor I could speak to down there. Can I get a supervisor?
I am the chief appraiser. Like I said,
you're the man.
Those decisions rely on my shoulder.
Okay, and your name was Rolando?
I made Garza.
Garza. Garza? Garza. Okay, and what is your mailing address so I can mail something directly to you?
P.O. Box 208, Edinburgh, Texas, 78540.
78540. So I got P.O. Box 208, Edinburgh, Texas, 78540.
Correct.
Okay, well, I will put everything in writing, sir.
All righty.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, bye.